أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه والسنة بزيت من الدين أما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا واجتنابه اللهم إنا نسألك خير ما سألك عبدك رسولك نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ بك عبدك رسولك نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. We continue in our Power of Dua series. Today is part number 12. Alhamdulillah, this is our 12th episode or 12th session. And yesterday in the 11th session, we were talking about the different times, the different mawaqit, the different times in which dua is very accepted, such as after azan, between azan and iqama, at the time of azan, in the time of the middle of the night, and all of these we covered, about 12 of them yesterday. And today we'll talk about whose dua is accepted in terms of human beings. There are certain categories of certain people who have special privileges, special status where their dua is accepted. One of that categories I mentioned yesterday also, that the dua of a person, of a brother or sister for the other brother or sister, meaning my dua for you and your dua for me would be accepted. The concept being that from our own tongue we may commit sins and mistakes, but the other person making dua for us, we don't commit sins and mistakes from their tongue. So we'll continue with that today. Just a couple of more instances when dua is accepted. We forgot to mention yesterday that during the days of Hajj, Ayyam al-Hajj, we mentioned about Arafat yesterday, but also during the days of Hajj, also the Dhul Hijjah days of Hajj, the dua is accepted in every single day over there. The dua inside the Kaaba is accepted, and those, of course, everybody cannot go inside the Kaaba. So you have the Hatim, you have that semicircle part. So that is considered like part of the Kaaba, as it was not expanded and built, but that semicircle of the Kaaba is also considered part of the Kaaba. And that's why you see people rushing over there and trying to go inside the Hatim and pray 2 rak'ah sunnah over there, as if you are praying inside the Kaaba. So that inside that Hatim area, that is also very accepted part of dua, as well as inside the Kaaba, according to Hadith Rasul. Also, when we are coming for the first time to the Haram, to the Kaaba, Mecca, that is also a situation, a timing when dua is very, very accepted, especially at the first sight that you see at the Kaaba, the black house. At that moment, whatever dua you make is very, very highly accepted. And that is a very important time. Another time that we missed yesterday was after we make wudu. So as soon as we make wudu, after wudu, we're supposed to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Rasulullah, Allahumma ja'alni min al-mutatahhirin wa al-tawwabin. Oh Allah, make us from those who are the pure and those who repent to you. And then after that, you can make any kind of dua, that Allah forgive my sins, forgive my mistakes, enter me into Jannah, etc., etc. So it is very important to understand that we make dua at all of these different times and situations, as they are very highly acceptable times, and that's the reason of highlighting of the time itself. Another time that is very important, we missed yesterday, is in Safa and Marwa, at the two mountains, mountain of Safa and mountain of Marwa, is also a very special place, and the dua is accepted at that point also. So we should, whenever we go for Umrah or Hajj, we should make dua over there. In another hadith, Rasul mentioned, this hadith is narrated by Abu Hurairah that Rasul mentioned, when you hear a rooster crowing, then ask Allah for his bounties, for it has seen an angel. And when you hear the donkey braying, then seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, for it has seen a shaitan. Or this is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So what Rasul is saying, that when you hear the rooster crowing, you know how in the morning, early morning at the time, roosters They are sometimes making noise. I know in America or in the Western world, it is something very unusual. It doesn't happen. But you go to many Muslim countries, especially in South Asia, in the morning after Fajr, when you're coming from your masjid towards house, you hear these roosters or cockerels making the sound of the voice, and that's what Rasul is saying, that that rooster has seen an angel. So obviously, it's a time for making dua, because the angel will say Ameen. In another hadith, Rasul said, whenever we as Muslims gather together in a majlis, in ijtima', and we mention Allah and Allah's name and His Messenger's name, then all the angels, they come and surround us with their wings, and they make dua for us, and they say Ameen. So that is why, according to that hadith, the scholars say that whenever we are in a gathering where we mention Allah's name and mention Allah's Messenger's name, and we discuss like a halaqah, like a dhikr, even like this, even though you're far away, but I'm here, but we are doing a halaqah, we're doing a dhikr of Allah. So whenever we are sitting together in a masjid, in a house, in a place, wherever, and there's a few people gathered around and they mention Allah's name and Allah's Messenger's name, the angels, they come and surround the whole gathering, and they start saying Ameen. So that is also a point very highly acceptable for dua to be accepted. And that is why usually you see that many of the scholars and imams, when they end any kind of dars or halaqah or dhikr, they make dua, because the angels are also saying Ameen while we are making dua. So whenever you go to any gathering, whenever you go to any halaqah, to the masjid or anybody's house or a park, make sure at the end when we make dua, it's a very, very acceptable time for making dua. And like this hadith said, that if you hear the donkey braying, then seek refuge in Allah from shaitan, for verily the donkey has seen a shaitan, which could also mean the shaitan of the jinn over there. Also, at the time of Jamurat in Hajj, that is a very, very special place also for dua to be accepted. And besides that, in the middle of the night, if a person, according to Hadith of Rasul, if a person wakes up from the middle of the night suddenly, this is besides waking up for tahajjud or for qiyam or something like that, but like a person is, dead, have a sleep, and suddenly they wake up, and whatever dua they make, if they at that moment when they wake up, they say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Rasulullah or la ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min adh-dhalimin, or they say La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah lahul mulk lahul hamd yuhyi wa yumeet wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, and then they make any dua, it will be accepted, because it is not ordinary thing to wake up in the middle of the night suddenly from sleep. But if someone does, and then they remember Allah, they praise Allah, like these verses that I just recited, then they can make dua. So these are about 15, 16 different times and situations where dua is accepted, that we have covered so far. So today, let us continue in the aspect of whose dua is accepted. Before we, yes, so the first thing is, as we mentioned yesterday, the dua of a Muslim brother or sister for their fellow Muslim brother and sister is accepted. And then the next, that's number one. Number two, the dua of the walidain for the awlad. Parents' dua for their children is very accepted. And this is in line with the sunnah of the Anbiya and Rusul, alayhim salatu wasalam. As you see, all the prophets of Allah from, Adam alayhi salam to Nuh and Ibrahim and Yaqub and all the others, they were making dua for their children. And so therefore, it is also in the sunnah of Rasulullah that we make dua for our children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the parents, when they make dua for their children, it is accepted. A lot of times, parents, they come to any imam and they say, oh, my son or my daughter, please make dua for them. Yes, that is good. Any imam, any sheikh, any alim can make dua for your son or daughter. But more than that, you as a father or mother should be making dua for your parent, for your children all the time. Because it is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mothers and fathers, as much as they can make dua for their children, this is highly acceptable. It's a blessing from Allah that Allah has given, us parents who make dua for us. Because remember, when parents pass away, when parents leave this world, there is no one making dua for us. Like the mother of Musa alayhi salam, she would be making dua for Musa alayhi salam. And then when she passed away, Musa alayhi salam was attentioned. That, look, be careful. The hands that were making dua for you all the time, Musa, they are no longer anymore in this world. So those of us who have our parents alive today, we are very truly blessed to have parents, especially old parents, senior citizens, who are making dua for us. And we should try to get as much dua from our parents for us. As children, as sons and daughters, it is our incumbent duty to be good to our parents and seek their dua. And we don't have to, a child never has to tell his son, his father or mother to make dua. Parents, they have unconditional love for their children. When parents make dua for their children, even when the children don't even remind them or ask them for anything. But yes, if children are obedient, if children are always loving and caring, always sharing with their parents, always communicating with their parents, then there are more likelihood and chances of dua coming more their way. Imagine a son or daughter who never talks to their parents, a son or daughter who never calls or remains in touch with their parents. Yes, the parents will make dua, but the quantity or the frequency of dua may be less compared to a son and daughter who is always in touch with their parents, who's always calling them, always, communicating with them, and always doing good deeds for the parents. There's something called birrul walidain. One of the best dua that we can accumulate in our life is the dua of our parents, doing good deeds to them, always taking care of them, sharing with them, caring for them, loving them, communicating them. Because parents, the best thing and the most valuable and precious thing that the parents can give their children is dua. Because parents, all their life, they take care of their children. They spend money all their life, and they always, and towards the end of their life, their dua becomes most valuable and precious. So any children out there listening right now, make sure you talk to your parents, communicate with them, love them, and talk to them and stay in touch with them. Do not desert them. Deserting parents is a major sin according to the hadith of Rasulullah anyway, and therefore we should not be doing that anyway. But we should always be asking and going ahead. So that is one of the people whose dua is most accepted, parents' dua for their children. And so for parents, my advice is that, even if you're angry or upset with your children, still make dua for them. Some parents, they get so angry and upset, they make dua against their children, which is not at all advisable from the sunnah of our Rasul and should not be done. But yes, sometimes they do get hurt so much that sometimes things may come and say, and that's why children should be on a warning. Children should be careful that they don't irritate or provoke their parents so much that some negative dua comes from them. So parents are all, the reason, one of the things that parents' dua is accepted for their children, because parents' love is unconditional and their dua is unconditional. What is a child can give to their parents? Nothing. Whether they're young or old, the parents are always above. Even those parents who retire and become old age, no matter how much money this child spends on them, they can never ever come even close to being equal to what the parents have done for that child all their life, raising them, upbringing them. So if any child thinks that I can spend thousands of dollars on my father and mother, and that would be a equivalent of the remuneration that they have spent on me, that's nowhere at all. And that is why when someone asks Rasulullah, who is most deserving of my sadaqah? When it comes to give sadaqah and spending money in the path of Allah, so who is the first and foremost that is most deserving of my sadaqah? And Rasulullah said, your parents. So the more money we spend on our parents, the more we spend on buying their goods and things and all that, the more they give dua. And children should always strive to earn the dua of their parents. A parent may have 4 or 5 or 3 or 6 children, but some children are getting more dua from the parents than the other siblings. Why? Because they're always out there, in khidmat, in service, in servitude, in gratitude. And because, if you're out of sight, out of mind, if you're always inside, you're always in mind, and the dua is always coming. So that is why as children, one of the easiest way for us Muslims as children to earn dua of any human being on earth is our parents. And that is why Rasulullah said that the parents' dua for their children is accepted. Likewise, also the dua of the children for their parents is accepted. As many of the hadiths, Rasulullah told us that if a person dies, when a person dies, their actions are cut off except from 3. One of those is waladun salih yadu lahu, a pious child, a pious son or daughter making dua for their parents. So when parents leave this world and they leave behind a son or daughter that is conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then guess what? This is the biggest investment we have left behind on earth. No car, no house, no wealth, no money, no stocks, no mutual funds, no bonds, no securities. Nothing can bring us reward and dividend in the grave when we are down there in the grave, except for the dua of the children. Imagine a son or daughter as a person left behind. Every day they wake up, every day they make dua for their parents, and the parents are in the grave, and they're getting the reward of that dua in the grave. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala halts the azabul qabr, the punishment of the grave. Allah halts that whenever we're making dua. Imagine you make dua for your dead parents for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, the azab in the grave, in the qabr, is halted. But if you make half an hour, 1 hour dua for a parent that is in the grave, imagine 1 hour, half an hour in the grave, there is no punishment, there's no azab al-qabr. There are numerous ahadith about the ahwal of qubur that is mentioned, without going much into detail, just to mention that the people in the grave, they are experiencing certain things. And that is why some people in the grave will be in a lot of turmoil and turbulence and difficulty, and some will be in bliss, in goodness, because they have left behind such children who are doing a'mal salihat, who are doing good deeds, and the dividends and reward is circulating to the parents, plus the children are doing dhikr, adhkar, tلاوة القران, som, fasting, Monday, Thursdays. All these things are going to the grave of the parents also as sadaqah jariyah. So children should be making dua. One time a Sahabi came to Rasulullah and he said, Ya Rasulullah, my parents are not here and I want to do birrul walidain. I want to be good to my parents, but they're not alive, they're not here. So Rasulullah told them, be good to the brothers and sisters of your parents, and you will get the same equal reward as you would get the reward you would be doing right now for your parents. Meaning this is another encouragement, another hint for us that we should accumulate the dua of not just our parents, but even the brothers and sisters of our parents, the am and amma, khal and khala and mamu and chacha and taya. These are all our relatives. And we should get, especially if our parents are not alive, then we should talk to these relatives, get reward, get dua from them also for that purpose in that aspect. Another thing very important is the dua of a dying person. When a person is dying in their last moments, of course, we are making dua for them, that Allah make it easy for them. But whatever dua they make for us who are alive, that is also accepted. So at that time, if you feel that someone's last moments are there, make 2 things for them. One, ask them to recite the Shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and also ask them to make dua for you, that they ask forgiveness from Allah for you, who you are there in front of them. And that is why we are making dua for them while they are there also. Another important personality that for which dua is very, very accepted, like we said earlier, before, is someone who's fasting. So a fasting person, their dua is accepted. And that is why the dua for traveling, we mentioned these two yesterday in yesterday's program, that a fasting person, a traveling person, a sick person, their dua is accepted. Parents' dua is accepted for children. Children's dua is accepted for their parents. So that's 5 different categories. Also, 6th category is also the dua of a mujahid, the dua of a person struggling and fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who would go out in the battlefield. You remember in the battle of Badr, Rasulullah, before the battle of Badr started, Rasulullah went into his khayma, went into his tent, and he made very, very long dua, continuous dua, like almost hours, asking Allah and begging Allah that, oh Allah, these 313 people I have gathered, and they are the only people here, and we have 1,000 people of the Quraysh. So a dua of the person who is going in fi sabilillah, in the path of Allah, to make the deen of Allah, sincere and supreme, their dua is accepted also. And that is why in Medina, whenever the battalion and the lashkar would be going, the armies that will be leaving and going from Medina, people will be asking them, literally pleading to them, make dua for us, make dua. A, you're traveling. B, you're going in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 3, you'll be fighting there, inshallah, so make dua for us. So the dua of a person in the path of Allah is very accepted. That's 6th. 7th, the dua of a madhloom, there is no hijab between the madhloom's dua and the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is according to hadith of Rasulullah, that he said, Rasulullah said, fear the dua of a madhloom, oppressed person. Meaning, we should not oppress anyone, we should not do dhulm to anybody, and if we do dhulm to someone, we should be very worried and scared and fearful that that person's dua will go straight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no hijab, as per the hadith says, there's no hijab, there's no barrier, no curtain between that madhloom, that oppressed person, and the dua going straight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the arsh. So that is number 8, the person that makes whose dua is very, very accepted, and we should be aware of it. Number 9, there is another hadith that Rasulullah said that the dua of a Muslim for his absent brother or sister, stemming from the heart, there is no believing servant who supplicates for his brother in his absence, where the angels do not say the same be for you. Rawah Muslim, in Muslim. What is this hadith telling us? That Rasulullah is saying that there's not a single believer who makes dua for his brother or sister in absenteeism, in absentia. What does absentia mean? See, yesterday I told you that if you make dua for your brother or sister in Islam, when they have asked you, like you tell somebody, please make dua for me. You're going for Umrah or Hajj, yeah, please make dua for me. You're traveling overseas, you're going to be going on plane, please make dua for me. So these are like requested dua. There's another kind of dua, special dua, which is unrequested dua, meaning you did not ask anyone to make dua for you, nor did they ask you to make dua for them. But it just came to your heart and you made dua for them in absentia, in absenteeism, meaning absenteeism that they're not there. There's a person that's sitting in front of you and you see them and you say, okay, let me make dua for them. But there's a person who's far away or who's in their house, and you are in your house and you're praying tahajjud and you make dua for them. Or you pray any salah and you make dua for them. This is the most powerful and accepted dua for anyone. And you know how that happens, brothers and sisters? There's a secret to that. See, those people will make dua for you without you asking them if you have done ihsan to them. Allah says in the Quran so many times, Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsineen. Allah loves the muhsineen. Allah loves the good doers, people who do good and move on. Those who don't do good in return for some praise, in return for some reward, in return for some accolade. Those who just do good and move on. They even forget they did good to somebody. See, whenever you touch somebody's heart, whenever you touch someone's close soul, whenever you are doing good to somebody, what are you getting from them in return? Dua. whether it's a faqir, a gharib, a miskin person, a poor person, homeless person, these beggars on the streets in third world countries, you help them and you move on. They make dua for you. In many of these Muslim countries, you go there and even if you give them a few change, they start making dua that may Allah take you to Mecca, Medina, may you go there and do Hajj and Umrah. Sometimes we shrug it off the shoulder that, oh, we just joke around and say, oh, they're just making, who knows, their dua may be accepted. And that is why in our time, in this time and era and age of fitna, we're living in a time of tribulation and trial. It is very important to maximize your dua from people without you asking them to make dua. See, it's a totally different thing. You pick up the phone and you call somebody and say, please, can you make dua for me? That you have asked them. But it's a totally different thing that you did not ask anybody, you did not tell anybody, and that person just remembered you. Maybe you did something good for them. Maybe you helped them give a ride somewhere. Maybe you helped them with the money or some finances somewhere. Or maybe you just bought certain things for them. Or maybe you just relieved them from their pain. They were going through certain pain, certain calamity, tragedy. You just helped them. You were a muhsin. You were a muhsin doing ihsan. So when you do ihsan to other people, you touch their hearts. And then you remain in their hearts until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Rasulullah said, never forget the muhsineen who have done ihsan to you in your life. Every believer, someone must have done something good for them. Someone must have touched their heart. So the people who touch your heart, the people who have who have helped you in your most darkest time of your life, in the most difficult phase of your life, the people who really helped you, have done ihsan, and who are muhsin, you always remember them, don't you? Think about it. Anybody, just recall right now, visualize in mind that who has helped me in the last 1 year, last 10 years, last 5 years, who has helped me? And when you recall them, you will see that you have made dua for them without them asking you to make dua for them. And that is what the hadith of Rasulullah is saying in Sahih Muslim. Again, I repeat for those of you, Rasulullah is saying over here that there is no believing servant who supplicates for his brother or sister for that matter in his absence, where the angels do not say the same be for you. So when you make dua for your brother or sister in Islam without even letting them know in absent, the angels that are there, they are saying the same be for you. So that's like killing two birds with one stone. A, you're getting ajr and hasanat for making dua for that person without telling them, without informing them in absent. B, you are also getting a reward for making that dua for their brother and sister. And then whatever you ask for them, let's say you ask that, oh Allah, bless this brother XYZ with health. The angels say the same be for you, so you get health. Oh Allah, this person helped me when I was in the most in need. So oh Allah, give them wealth, give them from your khazain, from your treasures. And the angels that are there listening, they say, same be for you. So you're asking for that brother to get the reward of wealth and and health and all that, and you are also getting it. So it's like a win-win situation. It's 2-in-1 deal. You make dua for someone, and you're also getting it. And the best part of this is, you know what, brothers and sisters, they don't know you're making dua for them. And let me tell you one thing: never ever tell someone I made dua for you. Just make dua for them in tahajjud, in the morning after Fajr, anytime you're walking. If you are traveling, just make dua for them. You took a plane, you're going, it's a 2-hour flight. In the 2-hour flight in the plane, instead of listening to some music, some lecture, something, 2 hours of dua. Yes, never get tired of making dua. So this is one of my favorites. This hadith is one of my favorite in terms of dua, that, this has been a mission of my life throughout, ever since I studied in Islamic University and became an imam. And when I learned this hadith during my college days, it has been a mission of my life, is to touch people's heart and get dua from them, so that you don't have to call somebody up and say, please make dua for me, please make dua for me, please. Why? Why should I ask people to make dua? Why cannot I live in their heart? Why cannot I not live in their mind? That without me asking them, they're making dua, and they don't even tell me. This is what the dua in absenteeism or dua in absentia means. You are making dua for those people. Remember, the only reason you are so encouraged to make dua for them because they have touched your lives. They've done something for you, my dear and sister Islam. Otherwise, there is nothing that is provoking you to make dua for them. If someone did not do anything for you, they didn't come in your life, they didn't even do ihsan, they didn't do any good deed for you, if they didn't do anything, would you ever even consider making dua for them? Illa mashallah, yes, you have a good heart and you just remember that this person is part of the community and you make dua, that's fine. But 99% of the people who make dua for someone is because that someone is a muhsin. Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Allah loves the good doers. And that is what we need to be. In all these categories of the people whose dua is accepted, we need to be in this number one category that I just said. That people making dua for you in absentia, without even telling you, you could be thousands of miles away, you could be somewhere in another continent, and there's somebody right here in New Jersey making dua for you. Why? Because you touched their heart sometime, somewhere, in some situation, or you helped them when they needed the most help, and you did not ask or seek any reward from them for that help. So inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to be of all these people. We discussed about 8 or 9 different people. These are not the only, there are many more, but these are the basic that help us understand whose dua is most accepted, and let us all be amongst those people whose dua is accepted, whether we are a parent, whether we are a child, whether we are a traveler, whether we are a fasting person, whether we are making wudu, whether we are in a difficulty. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those people who are generous to others. Never ever be selfish in dua. Never ever be bakhil or stingy in dua. Be vast, be expansive, be generous in your dua. Ask dua for a lot of people. And when Allah sees your generosity, when Allah sees that this slave of mine is so generous in making dua for everyone, the whole ummah, every single, Allah gives us more and more in the dua. So we end with that tonight, inshallah. This is our 12th episode. Tomorrow, again, 8 p.m., we'll come back here and do episode number 13. From tomorrow is going to be shifting a little because we have already covered all the ingredients and etiquettes and the timings and the types of dua and everything. Now we're going to shift this series towards specific dua. So tomorrow I'll be talking about the dua of Taif, the dua of Rasulullah when he was in Taif. And that was a very special dua. So I'll recite that dua here in front of you, inshallah. And then we will go through the meaning of it, inshallah. Tonight, I just want to end by making a dua for everyone, and especially teach you a special dua that Rasulullah has taught the believers in a hadith. Let me just pull up that hadith 1 second. It's yes, narrated Abu Hurairah عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا وقعتم في الأمر العظيم فقولوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم is saying that if you find yourself in a very extreme predicament, in a very difficult situation, Amrun Azim. Amrun Azim means a very difficult or very huge, very magnanimous situation of high magnitude. So, فَقُولُوا, then say, when you are in a difficult situation, say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. This is in Jama', this is in plural written, that as a Muslims you should say that. But if one person is saying, then he will say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbi Allah means Allah is sufficient for me. Hasbunallah is a plural, Jama', means Allah is sufficient for all of us. Wa ni'mal wakeel. And he is the best to rely on. He is the best reliance, ni'mal wakeel, reliance and dependent, tawakkul on Allah. It is mentioned in another hadith that this was the dua that Sayyidina Ibrahim al-Islam made when he was thrown in the fire. You know, the famous narration, when Ibrahim al-Islam was going towards the fire, Jibreel al-Islam came to him and said, you know, is there any order for me? Is there any help that you need from me? And Ibrahim al-Islam said to Jibreel al-Islam, Hasbi Allahu ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me, and He's the best of the reliance and the best of to rely, and I am relying on Him, and He'll take care of it. The second part of this dua is also أخرج ابن أبي الدنيا عن عائشة رضي الله عنها. Aisha رضي الله عنها narrates that أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا اشتد غمه, that when the difficulty would be very difficult, and when the affairs will be very, very heavy on the Prophet ﷺ, and he would be in a very stress, مسح يده على رأسه ولحيته. He would then use he would wipe his hands on his hair and on his beard and blow in them and say, حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. نعم المولى ونعم النصير is the second part. نعم المولى, Allah is the best of the masters. ونعم النصير, and He is the best of the providers and provider of victory. So this is a dua, a short dua that you should memorize. Repeat after me 2-3 times, and it will come on your tongue very easily. Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. If you're saying alone, you say Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. If you are saying together in jama'ah, together as a group of people, you say Hasbun Allah wa ni'mal wakil. But just memorize for yourself. Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. You are in a difficult situation, like suppose somebody told you you lost your job. Monday, don't come to job. First thing you should say is Inna lillahi wa raji'un, that to Allah we belong, to Him we return. And then you say Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Somebody gives you the bad news that, oh, someone, your loved one, so and so has just passed away, they died. First thing you say, Inna lillahi wa inna raji'un, and then you say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. That is what Aisha is saying, that is ishtadda amru. If the affair became very difficult on Rasul sallam, he would say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. And on top of that, he would blow in his hand and go on top of his hair and beard as a way of cure and remedy and all of that. So we are in a very difficult time. We are living in pandemic coronavirus time, COVID time. So we are in a very difficult time according to the hadith of Rasulullah. So we should be reciting this dua continuously, day and night, at least 100 times in the morning, 100 times in the night. Just say Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Say 100 times in the morning, 100 times in the night, in order to remove this calamity, remove this pandemic from us. And if you can say the whole version, the longer extended version, that's even better. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. 4 parts, if you divide it into 4 parts. Number 1, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil is the second part. Hasbi Allah, first part. Second part, ni'mal wakil. Third part, ni'mal mawla. Fourth part, ni'mal nasir. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil, ni'mal mawla wa ni'mal nasir. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for us, inshallah, and Allah is the best to rely on. We rely on you, Ya Allah, that you remove this pandemic before Ramadan, before 24th April, so we can return back to your house, Ya Allah, to the masajid and pray over there again, inshallah. Let us make dua. اللهم أنت السلام منك السلام تباركت ربنا وتعالى يا ذو الجلال والإكرام. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار والحقنا بالصالحين يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا شافي الأمراض يا شافي المشفى اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اشف من شفاء كامل لا يغادر سقما يا رب العالمين. اللهم ارزقهم الصحة والعافية في بدنهم وجسدهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا رحمن يا رحيم ارحم علينا يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا رحمن يا رحيم ارحم علينا يا رب العالمين. يا أرحم الراحمين ارحم على المؤمنين في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم وحد صفوف المؤمنين في كل مكان. اللهم ألف بين قلوب المؤمنين يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل الأخوة بين المؤمنين والمسلمين في كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم ارفع عنا هذه البلاء الكورونا. اللهم ارفع هذه الوباء الكورونا يا رب العالمين. اللهم نجنا من هذه الوباء الكورونا في الدنيا هذا يا رب العالمين. اللهم اخلصنا من هذه الوباء الكورونا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ردنا إلينا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ردنا إلى المساجد يا رب العالمين ردا جميلا. اللهم افتح أبواب رحمتك. اللهم افتح أبواب رحمتك يا رب العالمين. وصلى الله على محمد صلى الله عليه آله وصحبه رحمتك الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.